Morning on the cob, everyone. It's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. All right, it's almost 12 p.m. on a Tuesday, but it's the morning. I got this hair. I guess I got to start here. Listen, I'm sick of women using me for my devilish good looks, okay? So I needed to take myself down a peg to see who's really interested. I'm doing the opposite of looks maxing. I'm doing looks minning. I'm trying to make myself as unattractive as possible, and anyone who's still sticking around, they're in it for the right reasons. And I encourage all of you to do this too. Everyone just make yourself ugly for like a month or so, and then see who's your real friend, who's really there for you at the end. And you know, you may be thinking, well, hey, you're not that good looking, you're just tall. And well, my phase 2 is I'm getting a wheelchair. I'm getting cornrows in a wheelchair. I'm getting spinning rims on the wheelchair. I'm not actually going to do that, but, and I feel like I should clarify that that's a joke, because there's a lot of things I say I'm going to do that I do mean most of the time, because I'm a truth teller. I bring you the truth, and although I cannot tell you the full truth about the Epstein files, because I wasn't there, I don't know any of them, I can tell you the truth about me, because I've been here the whole time, except for those years where I was blacked out. But, yeah, I started microdosing steroids and drinking, and it's been incredible. It's been incredible. I think sobriety is good. I think whatever you want to do is good. You should just do whatever you want to do. But the Epstein files, shit keeps coming out, man. Matt Groening was on the Epstein files. The creator of The Simpsons was getting foot massages from 16-year-old girls. And this was back in 2019 this came out. I didn't even hear about it until now. And then I realized that's why The Simpsons have been predicting everything. They're not predicting it. They're co-creating the future with the elites. This whole time, The Simpsons has been in on it. And that's a little bit of a heartbreaker, because they've been a huge influence on me. Probably my favorite show growing up. And Stephen Hawking was on the Epstein files. We already know about that. And I just want to reiterate this. I've said this a few times, and I feel like nobody really appreciates it. Everyone on Epstein Island was some form of puppet or controlled person in a conspiracy, a cog in a psyop machine. Stephen Hawking is the perfect example of a puppet. You can literally just pick him up and move him around and make him say things. There's a video from before he had his voice box where this dude is claiming to be a translator. He has his hand on Stephen Hawking's shoulder neck area. And Stephen Hawking's is going, and then the translator is like, well, what Stephen's saying is we need to pay more attention to the significant advancements in homeopathic mathematics. And I'm like, no, he's not saying that. There's no way me as a human being with eyes and ears can look at that clearly and say, that dude is making shit up. You can look this up for yourself. There's no way that dude was translating that. Stephen Hawking was a puppet. And what were his two main focuses during his lengthy career? Black holes and gravity. Now we got to ask ourselves, is that even real? Is gravity real? Are black holes real? And I know that sounds like a crazy thing to question, because we've grown up our whole lives accepting that as truth. But look at all the other shit we accepted as truth that ended up being a lie or embellished. The Holocaust, 9/11, those are just recent examples. Who knows how much shit throughout history before we were even born is real. Is real. By the way, naming a country Israel is like me naming myself Eli definitely straight. It's like a little too on the nose, okay? Little too on the nose. Yeah, more Epstein stuff keeps coming out. A lot of pictures. There's one where Trump's grabbing Bill Clinton's dick. There's one where Epstein has the Talmud behind him. Not a good look for you guys. You know what I mean? Rob Reiner's son killed him and his wife. Rob Reiner was also on Epstein's island. I'm not saying they were killed, but I am saying that they're all just insane people. I think Rob Reiner was also depicted being stabbed to death on South Park. And South Park may be implicated as well because their last episode, they were doing a montage of people paying off President Trump. And one of them was Qatar. Was a Qatari dude with a bag of money for Trump. Totally left out Israel. And Qatar is like a dog whistle for the woke liberals. It's like or it's like a reverse dog whistle for, I don't know what you'd call them, neo-Nazis, I guess. And I say that in a loving way. But when you hear the Qatari government is paying off America, immediately your go-to is like, oh, whoever said that is probably a pedophile. Because that's like the antithesis of Israel. They've made it like, oh, they're the Muslims that are paying off the government, that are paying more than Israel, which is not true. But I got all this broken fucking fake glass all over this desk that I have not cleaned yet because I thought it'd be funny to make a reel where I smash a bottle over my head. And I thought it was funny. It only got 2,000 views, and now I have a whole fucking mess here that really wasn't worth making. A lot of alpha influencers got beat up in the last week. There was that woman propaganda guy who does kind of what I do, except is less funny and less articulate and less intelligent. But he's a guy with a mustache who just talks. It mainly just shits on women and is racist. I don't really shit on women that much. But he got, I guess he's like 5'1". He got the shit smacked out of him. And then he just went, huh, and then ran away. And the country watched that and was like, this is the guy who's talking about being an alpha male. Gay. And then Andrew Tate lost. And then Jake Paul lost. At least they know how to fight somewhat, though. That first guy, he just got beat up and then walked away. At least try. It's better to get beat up trying to beat them up than to just get hit and walk away. But yeah, the Andrew Tate thing's interesting because now he's all like, it's not about winning, it's just about trying. And I mean, I would rather, for no money, I would rather not fight. If I'm getting paid $20 million, I'll fight anyone for $20 million. I'll get the shit kicked out of me. I would let a guy slap me and then I would run away if you'd pay me enough. And it would be way less than $20 million. I would do that. I would do that for, honestly, I mean, a slap to the face that didn't knock me out, I'd do that for probably 20 grand. The Jews, I just have the word Jewicide. So suicide is not technically a sin. And if you were to tell, I gotta word this carefully. This is gonna get me kicked off. I'll just leave it at this. Suicide is not a sin. You get infinite lives. You can come back. If you don't like this one, just try again. Humanity is a giant pyramid scheme, okay? It's all about money. Suicide was initially made illegal because if you kill yourself, someone else has to do your job. The National Suicide Hotline is funded by the federal government. You think it's because they love you and care about you? No, it's because they want your precious fucking tax dollars, which is why we all need to band together and commit mass suicide as an act of rebellion against the state. Don't kill yourself if you're depressed, though. If you're depressed, you need to figure your life out, get on the right track, become successful, and then kill yourself so you leave on a high note. That still might get me kicked off. Yeah, I've been microdosing alcohol for about 2 weeks now, which means less than 6 drinks a day. And I have not had a single hangover, but the shakes are back, and I think I'm an alcoholic again. President Trump just rescheduled marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. This is big news. Schedule 1 is the worst. Okay, it's the most illegal. Just to give you a little history on how the scheduling works. I've been a user for quite some time, so I have some understanding in this realm. Schedule 1 is basically heroin. Schedule 2 is like morphine. Schedule 3 is like codeine. Schedule 4 is like steroids and HGH. So you see how each one is like a little bit less stigmatized than the previous? So Schedule 1 means there is no medicinal benefits. LSD's in there. I think mushrooms are in there. And there's no reason for a lot of these drugs to be Schedule 1 because marijuana does have health effects. We've been saying this for years, but they've been trying to snuff those studies for a long time because of, I don't know, marijuana was my first rabbit hole when I was like 12 years old in DARE class, which I think the whole purpose of it is to just be like, don't do drugs because they're awesome. Because I already knew, like, don't break the law. And I'd ask my mom, I'm like, why is there a whole class telling me not to break the law? I already know not to break the law. Is there something really cool going on here? My mom was like, no, you don't get it. These drugs, they make you feel happy for an hour and then you feel like shit for 2 days. And I'm like, I could be happy for an hour? That sounds awesome. So then I started doing some research and, you know, marijuana, they call it that because it sounds Spanish. It associates with Mexicans, racism. And then you have marijuana being a competitor for fuel and fiber and paper. And there's all these corporations at play that it was a threat to. So at age 12, I'm like, oh shit. The war on drugs is a whole psyop. And it's taken us this long to finally get marijuana to be reduced to a situation where it is still controlled to an extent, but now they admit that there are medicinal benefits to it, which is massive for the war on drugs, on the side of drugs. Because this has never really happened. They've never made a drug more legal. So, I mean, you can expect to see people getting out of prison. You can expect to see less people going into prison. I mean, the difference between having heroin or steroids is a massive sentence. You know, people serve life for Schedule 1. For Schedule 3, I mean, you might, it depends on the state, but federally, you might not even get arrested. I don't know how it's going to play out, but this is it's a foot in the door for things like MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, other therapeutic drugs that have psychoactive effects. And I think this could be one of the most important movements of our lifetime. Because technological advancements, they're not bettering society. They're incorporating more need for slave labor, for low-wage child workers in other countries. You know, who's putting these iPhones together? Who's putting these laptops together? Technology is, if you follow the supply chain far back enough, it's all slaves. Now, the greatest piece of technology is between our ears. It's in our mind. I forgot that I look like this. I look insane right now. But the greatest piece of technology is in our minds. And we can take drugs and alter it and change our perspective instantly. You know, things that take years of therapy or self-work or whatever, you can just do that within 45 minutes by eating a little piece of paper or a mushroom or a gummy or whatever. And now people are going to start realizing that they will finally be free to look within themselves and experiment with their own minds and come to new realizations and conclusions that they got internally without the help or the pressure of Jew psyop therapists and big pharma, and just by embracing nature. And I think this is a start to something beautiful. And yes, it is a bit of breadcrumbing. I think they want us to feel like we have a little bit of win so they can go back to fucking kids without us interrupting, which it's not going to work because the higher you get, the more anti-Semitic you get, because then you start realizing shit. You're like, hang on, if Germany won World War II, I wouldn't have been on hold with the bank all day. You know, remember when the Jews were like, remember when Kanye West was like, the Jews run the banks, and then Kanye, whatever, dude. I fucked that up too many times. I'm not going to say it. But yeah, about that woman propaganda guy, that's his tag on Instagram, who got slapped. If you're gonna talk a bunch of shit online, you should be able to fight. And you should be willing to. And I am. I'll fight you. I want to go to one of those events, and I hope I'll go there with a swastika yarmulke on. And then someone will be like, hey, take that off. And then I'll be like, oh, you hate Jews? You want me to take off the yarmulke? And they'll be like, no, it's a swastika. And then I'll pretend like I misheard them, like, swastika? Yarmulke. It's because it sounds the same. And that, unlike the wheelchair, I'm actually going to do that. I just need to find a swastika yarmulke manufacturer. Maybe I'll hit up my guy at Red Pill Threads. But yeah, more on the Epstein stuff. The Epstein stuff is crazy because it's just the worst shit. God, I need to clean up all this broken fake glass. It's made of sugar, so it's gonna start sticking to everything. But it's crazy because it's the worst stuff imaginable combined with ancient prophecies, combined with futuristic science. Epstein was trying to seed a super race of human babies in underground nuclear silos in Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. Now, I've talked about CRISPR a bunch before, but you should Google it. CRISPR. We have the technology to edit genes. We have since the 80s, at least. And it's just, I already talked about how he was involved in funding Bitcoin. But, sorry, I just had to taste the broken bottle to see if it tastes like sugar. It doesn't. It tastes like a crumbly it tastes like starch. I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say about Epstein. I'm sick of seeing the Epstein stuff, honestly. I'm sick of literally seeing it. They posted something with like a little girl tied up and then her eyes are blacked out. And I'm like, I don't want to see this shit, dude. I don't want to think about it. But it is reality. And sure, it's over now, but you gotta pay attention to the story. I don't think we need to see the images, but you gotta pay attention to the story because there's all these people connected to it that are just perpetuating all the shit that we're against. And it's never gonna stop unless people realize what's going on. Because you can't argue with someone who is in denial. You can't have an honest conversation if one of you is not being honest. So, and there may be people that are being honest and they're just wrong. And if you're wrong, I just want to say, unfollow me, stop watching this, unsubscribe. I can't be around wrong people. And if you need help being right, just listen to what I say and agree with me. I've never been wrong. I've never made a mistake in my life. So just agree with me and I will bring you to salvation. Join the interdimensional temple. We're all going to ascend together. I'll probably get rid of these cornrows and then you can take me more seriously again or whatever. Cabbage Patch Kids. That's what I was going to get into. So the Epstein's was trying to breed superhuman children in underground missile silos in Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. And this type of thing has been going on before Epstein. This is where the Cabbage Patch Kids comes from. They were growing kids in pods in a cabbage farm underground in Virginia. Looking at that. Looking at it, it's crazy. And honestly, it makes sense. It makes sense if you think about everything from if slavery was real and you want high-performing slaves, why not genetically modify them to be stronger and then grow them in pods? It does make sense from a sick capitalistic point of view. But all right, we're at 20 minutes. I'm going to go. Thanks.